Hello, everybody, and welcome to, I think it is the afternoon, just about, so welcome to the next session in the Blue Theatre, where we're talking about, this is the cruise and carrier track. We're going to talk now about sustainability with a cruise line, a tour operator, and a specialist sustainability tour operator, travel company. And we're going to talk about sustainability and how that aligns with being economically successful, how we grow and be sustainable as an industry. What we've got is each of our speakers has got a 5-minute presentation to tell you a bit about themselves and introduce the topic. So we'll go one by one, and I'll introduce them onto the podium to give their 5 minutes. First up, we're going to hear from Hurtigruten. Did I pronounce that correctly? Which is, those of you might know, is a Norwegian cruise operator. Well, more than a cruise operator, actually, but you'll hear in a minute. So we've got Andre Pettersen. He's the Chief Product Officer for Hurtigruten. Andre, over to you for your 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi. So my name is Andre Pettersen, and I'm the Chief Product and Hotel Officer in Hurtigruten. Hurtigruten is, as you can see here, an #1 iconic experience in Norway. We have been connected travelers with the heart and soul of Norway since 1893. That's a long time. That's a really long time. And we've been in service even through COVID. We were sailing some of our ships, making everyday coastal life extraordinary with voyages that are authentic, human, and deeply local. We all know that the challenges the tourism industry faces when it comes to sustainability. And let's be honest, the cruise sector is often seen as one of the worst offenders. But here's the thing, Hurtigruten is not a typical cruise company. We are different. So what sets Hurtigruten apart? We are trusted since 1893. That's over 130 years of knowledge, experience, and unwavering reliability. But we are so more than just a long history. We are caring for the coast, sustaining Norway's coastal communities for generations. We are Norwegian flagged ship. We have Norwegian crew with Norwegian salaries and benefits. We are an integral part of Norway. We are deeply intertwined with the coastal communities, which we support, trade, and cooperate with. We know that travel done the right way can have a huge positive social and economic impact. As an example, we are buying 80% of all our food is sourced locally from suppliers along the Norwegian coast. And that makes a huge impact on especially the small local communities. It creates communities where people have jobs and make a decent living. And that's why we stand firmly against mass tourism in these areas we sail. We recognize the threat to the climate, to the delicate balance of nature, and to the unique character of local communities. We offer something different, small ship cruising that brings our guests closer to the coast and communities. The community actually wants us to be there because we collaborate with them and we buy from them, and we have a really good and strong collaboration for 100+ years. So sustainability isn't a cost. It's a smart investment, is how we see it. We are deeply committed to protecting the planet. We are fully aligned with the Paris Agreement. And we're investing heavily in reducing our emission and minimizing our environmental impact. We are incredibly proud to be developing the world's first zero-emission coastal cruise ship. It's going to be delivered in 2030. But does all of this make business sense? We believe that sustainability is a competitive advantage, and we're confident it will make our business stronger than ever. We know that to be the part of the future, you need to innovate, adopt and make sustainable choices. We as a company need to look back in the rearview mirror and say that we made an impact. And in Hurtigruten, we aim to be a catalyst for change, innovating sustainable practices for others to adopt, and learning from others to improve every day. So I'm looking forward to today's discussions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Andre.
Thank you.
Sustainable, but also on time, which is good.
Good.
Okay, now we have the view from Club Med, and we have Remy Lanaudy. God, my French is awful.
Yes.
He's managing director at Club Med. sorry, Remy. We'll call you Remy from now on.
I will do it by myself. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. So my name is Remy Lanaudy. I am actually the managing director of Club Med Germany. So one question already, who knows Club Med? Okay, more on the right side than on the left. Okay, good to know. Club Med is a company which is established since 1950. So we're celebrating this year the 75th anniversary of Club Med. So it's quite a milestone in our history. Club Med, my story is very linked with Club Med as I started Club Med 22 years ago. I studied as a tennis instructor. It was very, very summer job-oriented moments, and I turned out to be here 25 years later. So it's quite a story. I've been appointed general manager of Club Med in resort for 7 years, where I've been mostly in American zone, in Asia, but also in Europe. And then after, I decided my company wanted me to also work in offices, so I was appointed in China as a product director for APAC Pacific. Then in Lyon as a product for EAF Resorts, and now, since a year, I'm proudly the managing director of Club Med Germany, married for the German woman who didn't give me the chance to come here in Germany. So, about Club Med, I was saying Club Med was created in 1950 by two characters, was Gérald Blitz, a Belgian man, and Serge Tegano, Frenchman, and together they bring the idea right after the Second War in 1950. They were very pioneer to bring vacation together. So they create the concept with bringing all people together to reconnect with the nature, to connect in between individuals, and basically topics we are still today very actual in our days, right? There we go. In sustainability, Club Med have been moving from 1950 with different ambition, different objectives. We have been very pioneer all the way by creating what we call the mini club. We've been opening destinations all around the world. And since 2014, we decided to move up to a premium exclusive destination. And we moved from 130 resorts to today 70 resorts, much more premium oriented, with an ambition to have also resorts which are much more sustainable and much more engaged for the future of our children and of course our clients. And so I just would like to show you a quick video on what Club Med stands, and we will discuss it after.
Since 1950, we've been exploring the world in search of its most beautiful destinations to reconnect with nature, find happiness, create unforgettable memories, and inviting you to join us on our greatest journey yet towards a more sustainable future. A journey towards more environmentally friendly resorts, where we constantly strive for the highest certifications and are committed to reducing carbon emissions related to the production and consumption of energy in our resorts by 80% by 2050. A journey towards more sustainable vacations for our guests, with only 10% of our resorts' land developed, preserving the beauty of their natural biodiversity, and 60% of fresh ingredients sourced locally, enjoyed daily in our restaurants. A journey to make a positive impact for our teams worldwide, with all our resort managers promoted internally, leading teams of over 100 nationalities trained to work and grow together. Earth, will always be our most beautiful destination. And while the journey ahead is long, we're happy to care for it together.
So Club Med in 2025 is aiming to become the lifetime premium hotel brand, lifestyle, we'll say it, with an ambition to be also very respectful of our environment. And we have 3 commitments that certainly we will discuss today. The first one being commitment to building and operating more responsible resorts through 2 main factors. The first one being certification, international certification. So today, 100% of our resorts are Green Globe certified. And every time we are building a new resort somewhere, we are aiming for a BREEAM, good or very good certification, which is a construction certification, very high demanding. Second point is also speed up. We saw our situation with CO2. We are right now aiming to go to 80% decrease of our CO2 consumption towards until 2050, and this is something what we are working on very hardly. Second commitment that we're having is to offering more sustainable stays to our guests. We have a lot of families in our resort, and it's our responsibility too. First of all, by preserving the local biodiversity, and we have a full program based on that. Bye-bye plastic, eliminating, removing all the plastic for our entire resort, and sourcing of local product, as you have seen in the video. And the third and last commitment that we have, as a main pillar, let's say, is to deliver a social, very positive impact on our community, the community where we install our resort, by creating, since 1978, the Club Med Foundations, which is, of course, still active today. Green Farmer Project is an extremely interesting project where we help community, local farmers, to develop the way of working to be able to be bio and more green. And this way we are having the objective to use, of course, the ingredient and element that they are farming. And of course, multiculturality and professional growth. Looking forward for the discussion. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Remy. Right now, for a natural English speaker, the next speaker's name is going to be difficult to pronounce without suggesting that he's not telling the truth. He's not Ingo Lies, which is how I would normally say. He's Ingo Lees. Ingo is the CEO of Chameleon, a specialist sustainable travel company. Ingo.
Thank you, Lee. Yes, I take any applause, even for coming up here. Thank you. I've actually. Oh, sorry. I go back. Okay. So I'm actually the youngest company here. We celebrate 30 years next year. But I remember the 95 ITB, that was my first one, and ever since. And I was standing in front of the Nepal stand distributing flyers I printed in a copy shop on yellow paper, our company color by now, and trying to get my first group together, which I did. I guided it myself in October 95. I'm going back with my sons and my wife this year to celebrate in Nepal. And I did not expect in 95 that one day I would stand here and talk to you about sustainability and success. And that's going to take you into the Chameleon story a little bit, and we start with the film.
Der Regenwald, grüne Lunge der Welt, voller atemberaubender Schönheit und Heimat unzähliger Tier- und Pflanzenarten. Hier stellen wir, von Wissenschaftlern exakt berechnet, für jede Reise Regenwald unter Naturschutz. So haben wir schon viele Millionen Quadratmeter dieses Paradieses gerettet. Die Welt mit jeder Reise ein bisschen besser machen. Das heißt, dass Chameleon mit dem Großteil ihres Reisepreises die lokale Wirtschaft im Reiseland unterstützt. Das hilft dabei, Einheimischen mit ihren Familien ein gutes Leben zu ermöglichen und die Schönheit der Natur für kommende Generationen zu erhalten. Denn Nachhaltigkeit ist unsere DNA. Chameleon.
Yeah, so there's two parts to it. It's supporting the local community. We have local German-speaking tour guides all around the world, which we invite once a year to come to Berlin to train. And they make a fantastic experience in the countries. And then it's the accommodations. All accommodations worldwide are locally owned. We choose small accommodations that have about 20 rooms. And we develop some of them ourselves. For example, I'll give you one, the retreat in South Africa, which was an accommodation that got into trouble during COVID. And we helped them to refurbish, to build a pool, to create a new home for the evenings, and then create a special experience for our guests, because that's what we aim for. And Maika and her husband very happy now, and it's a special place for our guests to then in the evening enjoy the local food. They have an olive garden, and that's one of the examples. We've also created a few own accommodations. This is Aqua on Zanzibar, and we clearly focus there on all sorts of sustainability from energy point of view, but also having no plastic at all. There is filling stations for water bottles that you have in your room, and this water bottle is actually traveling with every Chameleon guest. You get one with your travel documents, and you have that on tour with you all the time. And we provide fresh, clean drinking water throughout the journey, during the day, and also in the accommodations. It's one part of the story. And that's, I'm sure we're going to talk about in a minute, we measure. We measure. Numbers are essential from my point of view. So we measure the footprint of each trip, and we all know about 75% of the footprint, carbon dioxide footprint, is caused by the flight. So we need to talk about that, all of us. I think it's part, although we are not airlines. And then secondly, it is, and you saw the rainforest in the beginning. So what we do not compensate. I don't believe compensation works. We have to find other solutions in the long run. But we can do something. We can do something for nature to keep carbon in the ground, and to do something for biodiversity. What we do, we founded an own organization, a foundation actually. It's called Rainforest Foundation. It's in Ecuador. We've saved by now 30 million square meters of rainforest. We buy a portion of rainforest for each guest traveling with us. And lastly, we measure also exactly how much of your tour price goes into the country for each trip, so you know that. This is Alfonso and I. We started the Rainforest Foundation. By now, it's a Reserva Natural, Alfingo we call it. That's Alfonso and Ingo. Together makes Alfingo. So that's the name. Reserva Natural, Alfingo in Ecuador, protected nature reserve. And I was just an hour ago with Frank Nave. He's one of the senior people at Lufthansa Group. And we bought for 100,000 euros sustainable aviation fuel, and that's important also. And we are, lastly, also part of many initiatives. For example, I'm part of the board at Futuris, a sustainable organization in Germany. This was a CEO meeting, lots of CEO airlines, tour operators, and we're talking about how to make flying more sustainable in the future and what needs to be done. We won the German Sustainability Award 2025. We're very proud of that, biggest prize we ever have. And of course, thank you. And of course, sustainability starts at home. So that's one of our buildings, the biggest building in Berlin, built just out of wood. Office building has a space for 50 people. We are building the third one at the moment. And the most important for all of us is, what do our guests say? We're very proud with more than 7,000 people written reports. We have an average of 4.7. And what are the numbers doing? Because that's what we're also talking about. We're talking about success. That's our success story. You can see from one year to the next, that's our turnover in million euro. And already for 25, we're having the numbers quite clear, because we are up at 85% already. And that's our aim for 2030. So it is also possible to be sustainable and successful, I think, as we all know. Thank you.
Thank you, Ingo. Thank you, guys, for that introduction. Look, let's start with something that actually Ingo raised. It's possibly the elephant in the room, in that the industry as a whole is not going to go net zero or become officially sustainable until the aviation industry does. We started this morning with a panel of aviation people on this stage, talking largely about the German situation, but really we touched a lot on sustainability and the kind of expectations that are being placed on carriers, on airports, etc., and the difficulties they're going to face, because it's going to cost a lot of money. That isn't the sustainable aviation fuel. You can incentivize buying it, but there isn't any to buy. So they're in a very difficult position, especially to hit these targets. These targets used to be seen to be a long time in advance, but 2030 seems very not far off. 2050 isn't too far away. So let's start with just addressing this at the moment. How do you portray yourself as being sustainable when ultimately you're still having to use carriers, long haul especially, to take people to these amazing experiences that obviously you want to? Let's start with Ingo, but you need to get these people there somehow. So yeah, how does that happen over the next 20, 30, 40 years?
I think we need a joint effort, yeah, because whatever you do in the tourism industry, mostly, unless you do like camping trips in Germany, you need the flights. Yeah. And the technical solutions are only starting to develop. Sustainable aviation fuel exists, but it's too small. But I think we have to start and we have to unite on that, and we have to get the airlines in and politics, because we need tax reductions on these fuels. We need investment, and yes, in the end, I think we're all going to be part of it. The consumer as well. It is going to have a price increase, but if it's going step by step, I think we can take the people with. But it has to be fair. That's one of the issues the EU is trying, and I think the quotes are a good idea. But we also have to look at airlines that operate outside of Europe, that they also take their part in that development, because then that has to be fair. Yeah, but I think we all have to look at this topic.
Completely.
I think that was the feeling earlier. There's a too heavy a burden being placed specifically on Europe, because this is where this issue is being addressed most readily, and then everywhere else gets on with it. And we know the political situation.
Instead of getting rid of it, I think we have to get the others in. Yeah. That's my way of thinking. So that is important.
This is where, yes, sorry, go on.
And I just wanted to bounce on it. I totally agree on the line that we need to work on it all together. It will take time, and what Club Med is trying to do also is we have this strategy of being local. It's trying to open destinations where we will ensure that we will not have to fly all the world to these destinations. So we are also aiming to try to decrease tremendously the consumption in this way, and this is also the strength for us being international. So example, we're about to open one resort in South Africa because we have a solid market in South Africa, and we know that consumer from and inhabitants from South Africa will join. We're going to open also a commercial office in La Martinique, because also we have a solid base of clients over there, to make sure that also, that's our first ambition, that this destination will be also almost autosufficient, and we will not have to fly people all over the world. We are pushing right now a lot also new destination, which also avoids using the carrier, because we know, again, it's going to take a lot of time to achieve it. And it's how destination can be a solution. Example also, the summer mountain, where we have also a drive-to solutions, where we can also, and it's very hype right now, be a solution to all.
Yeah. This is where cruise and actually aviation have a shared interest, because the cruise use fuel, and actually you mentioned your new ship in 2030 is going to be sort of completely green, but that's for a long time. You're going to have a lot of ships out there sticking carbohydrate in their engines.
We mix in biofuel in our ships, but it's not that much biofuel to get hold of. So for us, we will actually have to use more biofuel if it was more there. I think that regulations need to be in place so we actually could produce more, and the price. And we see that it ain't that many people that actually are willing to pay for a greener fuel for airlines, for example. It's a price war, right? So, but the shipping or the cruise industry is quite regulated. Like our company, we needed to take down our emissions with 25% because we are under a state contract with the government in Norway.
Yep.
So they are actually pushing that and regulatory ways of us taking that. And I think that needs to come also in the airline.
There's quite a lot of stick going on, not so much the carrot. And you know, look, we're talking about 3 companies here. You represent a small part of the industry. There are some huge businesses represented out there over the next 3 days. They make great profits and they make good money out of aviation, essentially, because of that aviation.
Yeah, of course.
They don't have a business, but don't really maybe put a bit back in. Maybe there's an argument for the industry to grasp this as a whole. You know,
It has to happen. We all know, we only have this one world.
Yeah.
And the climate crisis is there. We all know about it. And aviation is a part of it. And it's very obvious because we are all flying. Yeah. We actually made a survey, our guests, 30,000, to find out. And what we found out is a lot of flying with a bad conscience. So we don't want that. We want them to fly happily, and to I mean, that's obviously often the start of the trip, is to fly to get wherever you're going. So I think it's really essential. But also I think what we also need to look at is the development in the world for jobs, for especially in developing countries. A lot of jobs are being created. And that also profit. I mean, there's different business models. You come as a European company in destinations, you own the places, you still employ a lot of locals. And I love what you said about local food and all of that has changed. And there's a lot of change. People, actually, we have to communicate this. It's still not known enough. Also, for you as an example, as a, most sustainable, I would say, cruise ship company, and still, I think one has to look at how do the locals benefit a lot, aside from and how do also taxes come into a country, because if all the taxes are being paid elsewhere and there's no income because there are no businesses, that is also a problem for developments. And then there's maybe nations coming in that have other interests in building the roads because the governments don't have own money. They generate enough from businesses in the country. So I think that's also part of our responsibility, and that's actually my key word.
Yeah, I think all 3 of you talked about more the social impact and creating jobs, supporting locals. Is it frustrating that when we talk about sustainability in travel, the focus is so often on the carbon, on the C word, on carbon, and when we talk about then offsetting carbon, so it's carbon versus carbon. Why not offsetting? Can be, do I do social good? That's an offset because sustainability could cover all sorts of aspects, not just environmental impact. So is it frustrating for you guys that maybe the impact on society isn't factored in enough for what you do? I mean, especially with Herd de Grooten, you are a local service as much as anything else. Without you, those communities
coming
can't
to
exist.
the harbors we are visiting, nobody will live there. In a way, at least the rural areas of Arctic Norway, and so we are keeping lights in houses, beds in heads, and the community going, and everybody profits of the tourism.
How do you put a value on that, and how do you put that value back into the equation when you say, "Am I sustainable?"
Yeah. That's a longer discussion than I can take here.
But it doesn't really happen, does it?
But it happened, and I think that is what tourism is all about. Right? So you can make that, it's a low scale to start working with hotels, restaurants, and it really employs. When I was walking around here, I was like, what a massive industry we actually are when we look at it together. Because I usually go to cruise venues, and everybody's here in ITB, and I was like, wow. And but we are maybe not that good at advocating what we want to do, like oil, gas industry.
Remy, you're probably on the panel. You're probably the most mass market, but still, I don't know if do you consider yourself to be part of the mass market? And I suppose the question is, does mass market and sustainability, are those 2 things incompatible?
For us, actually, Club Med has been, as I was explaining a bit before, we move really from We used to be very mass market in 2000, and we really moved to a value strategy. So decreasing quite tremendously a volume of resorts. And I think the equation of, as you mentioned, the equation of mass towards sustainability is a complex topic. And we decided a little bit to take it on another way by creating more value. And basically, we decreased by almost 50% of capacity of resorts. Right now, we have 72 resorts in the world compared to 130, 140 years ago. And we're trying to decrease the volume of field use also in this. But of course, by creating more premium hotel, the ADR have been quite strongly raising, and we managed to have a profitability and a result, actually, which has been quite record on the past 2 years. Once again, by promoting new destinations, new places to be. So I would say we are not so much anymore into the mass, but trying to create values in destinations which have a real future.
Yeah, I guess reducing supply, going up market, raising prices. The danger is travel becomes the plaything of the rich and wealthy, and there is no mass market, and the days of low-cost flying are gone. When actually, if you want to fly sustainably, you fly low cost. I mean, if you're given a choice. So how does the industry sort of square that circle?
We have to tell, and I was actually, there's an example in Switzerland, for example, in the travel agencies, there's a lot. There is a lot of information about green fares, for example, that some airlines offer. And the success is more than 10% sales on top. Yeah. So with a good explanation, people vote for it. Now you can say, yeah, Swiss. The Swiss people, they have more. Maybe. But it shows as an example. And I think the same is happening in Germany. We have to be courageous. Especially in the travel agencies where there's a lot of talking. So to position it and give people reasons to pay a little bit more. And I'm sure quite a number will, and it's an increasing number. Sorry. Yeah. But anyway. But what I also think tourism has, because over-tourism is also a big discussion, right? And that's, I think, where tour operators like us, and there's many others, can play a great role by bringing guests in remote areas, by distributing throughout the whole countries that poorer areas benefit. And we're actually designing tours to do so. Yeah, in countries like Namibia, for example, we've been active 30 years. Now it's very known, but 30 years was not very known. And it has developed the country. And I think that we have to explain to people. They have to know that they're actually doing good with their travel for themselves, yes, but also for the locals. And we have to give them the numbers for that. And we have to rethink our business models all the time, yeah, because time is moving.
Very, very often you see a lot of consumer surveys, and they're asked, you know, would you pay more if your holiday was green or your flight was green? There may be a sign, as you're shaking your head. You don't tend to get a lot of people going, yeah, I'm desperate to pay more. So the consumer kind of expects this. It's not like they are looking at it as an extra special thing. They want it to be baked in anyway, don't they? I mean, they're looking for you guys to do that for them.
Yeah, but so I think you need to have value and quality in the product. I think that is the key. Then you can say also that this is a more sustainable product because it has higher qualities. Yeah. Local food have better quality than frozen food. Yeah. And it costs more to deliver it at the port on the dock where the ship is docking. The same is for shore excursions with Norwegian salaries that are quite high. But you get if the shore excursion you are providing is coming from a national Sami family that lives there all year round, and you understand that has some cost, but it's authentic, and then you want to pay for it. If it actually is an electric bus that takes you there, good, but it's a value. I think you need to be in that space, and that's hard with mass tourism and volume products. Yeah. But luckily for us, we are not in that.
Remy, you mentioned, I mean, all-inclusive is your well, you almost like invented the idea of all-inclusive, and you're doing the ski side of it. So that depends. The weather, it's very weather dependent. But on the other side, you're also taking people to the sun. So again, it's weather. So you've got a vested interest in the climate being quite predictable. I guess this is obviously something that's really important to Club Med, because if you can't. If the climate changes, there's no sustainable business model for you guys, is it?
Yeah,
so
completely. And we are trying to think about it when the ski destination is at risk. We know it all, and we are promoting also. This is why we are pushing so much into summer mountain. Very well, a real high post-COVID, where we basically raised by 50 or 60, 55% the volume of travelers to summer mountain in Europe. Particularly in France, and this is also not using any AC in the resorts. It's also a great solution for waste solution also, and of course, really lowering down in terms of CO2 consumption. But yes, we are actually worried with this weather change. Obviously, some destination we have in Mauritius, some issues with actually our beaches. So environment is a main concern for us. And particularly the fact that 100 nationalities living with us, working with us, and we are caring also for them.
Yeah. Look, our time is nearly up, and you can tell from the size of the audience, this is a key topic. It really is. Yeah. You know, people come and want to talk about, want to hear about this. Just one question to finish off. Look, this is quite a big topic outside of travel. There are big protest groups, you might say, who take quite an extreme stance on this. They just simply want us to travel less, and they'll accuse all you guys of, no matter how good you are at this, of greenwashing. And it's an accusation that everyone has to take seriously, because it can look like that. So, just how do we avoid, as an industry, but you individually as companies, how do you avoid the accusation that this is all about greenwashing, and if you're enabling travel, it's not sustainable per se? So,
transparency. Yeah. Transparency is the key, yeah. That's why we have a big sustainability report. We actually run 2 foundations. We also say how much money we are giving into them, what it's spent on, and what's your carbon footprint, and talk and find more ideas, and we have to keep moving. And greenwashing is a danger and is a reality in some parts, and but I don't believe in traveling less is the solution. Yeah. It's not going to happen. Maybe it's going to happen in some areas, in some countries, but the world is big, and we all know, all the predictions are it's going to double on flights in like 10, 15 years. So we have to find technical solutions, but we have to be honest, and we have to be part of the solution as an industry.
Yeah.
Can I have one point?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
So transparency and measurements.
Yes.
And open data source. ESG, we are the best rated cruise company on ESG. That's not on a random chance. That's hard work for many, many years. So and then everything is open. Yep. And we measure everything from food waste to water spillage, whatnot. And that's how you can come across the greenwashing accusations.
Yeah. Remy,
because nobody's perfect.
Yes. Final word for you. I mean, data measurement, very hard to get data that, you've got to trust the data in the first place, so maybe that needs a third party to verify it, but you know.
Totally, the data is key. I would like to add also the humility on the topic also. We know we are responsible, but we know that we're on a long way. And it's a long way to go, and it's a daily effort, and it's a team effort. And this we have to be very conscious on it, and this will avoid also some accusations on that, being very humble on the topic, because we are all learning there. And data is key. I totally agree with you. KPIs, ensuring we have a progression year after year, and not just giving an appointment in 20 years and waiting 10 years to say that, sorry, we're not there, is also something will help, I believe, too.
Great. Well, look, I know we could probably keep on talking about this, but there's going to be loads of sessions on this throughout the next 3 days, I'm sure. So if you want to talk about sustainability, there's plenty of content. We have to break now. We have to. I think it's lunchtime, actually. So for the guys in the room, if you want to come back into the blue stage after lunch, there's lots of more content throughout this afternoon. In the meantime, please join me in thanking our panels. So thank you to Ingo, thank you to Andre, thank you to Remy.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And all the best. Thank you very much, guys.